I think I've learned just how much the woman called Beatrice influenced grandfather's life.
We haven't learned anything. Who killed Beatrice? Unless we figure that out, we'll never be able to get out of here.
You're right. We need to finish this quickly. The funeral is already over after all.
You've got it all wrong. This is the funeral.
You mean what she's making us do?
All of the Beatrices we've heard about so far weren't killed at all. We're trying to understand where the word killed factors in. That's the real funeral as far as Bernkastel is concerned.
No one knows about her being killed, and that's the truth we're trying to expose.
You're pretty sharp, aren't you? It hardly feels like I'm talking to a piece from the lower plane. So this is why I was given you as my Watson.
Ouch. Don't call your partner a piece. So what next, Willard Holmes?
Step 1 of holding an investigation is questioning witnesses, of course. And there's still a Beatrice we need to ask about. To indicate whom they should talk to next, Will nodded in the direction of George, Jessica, and Maria. Maria seemed to be lecturing the others about something.
Wow, Beatrice sounds pretty incredible.
Yeah, and then inside an upside-down cup, she made tons of candies appear out of nowhere.
Inside the overturned cup? Amazing. Sounds like magic to me. Maria-chan really does love witches and magic.
We could hardly avoid consulting our local authority on witches. When looking for someone to ask about Beatrice, Maria rose to the top of the list. The Beatrice she spoke of wasn't the real Beatrice, the one Kinzo and the others had talked about. However, here and now on the Rokkanjima of 1986, the name Beatrice probably refers to the person Maria is always talking about. I don't see Battler anywhere. Ushidomiya Battler, the one who was forced to fight as Beatrice's opponent in many games and the most important person in this game, this tale. A battler in this world would probably be the peace version, but even so, it should be possible to get some vital information out of him. Will probably wanted to talk with Battler too, but he was nowhere to be seen in the cousins' group.
Battler-kun did not attend this funeral. It's a shame, seeing as he's the cousin closest in age to me.
Are you two on good terms?
Yes, of course.
And you pinch his butt every time he says something perverted?
Oh, how did you know? Did your detective instincts tell you that?
Poor guy. Bernkastel said that everything we needed was gathered here. Since Battler isn't here, that probably means it's possible to find out everything without asking for his side of the story. Or maybe she's intentionally hiding the core elements and making us take the long way around, as part of some fickle witch's game. Yeah, it's probably that. Since he isn't here, that probably means there's no need to hear his story for the time being. Let's talk to Maria and the others. I won't say anything perverted, so keep your hands off my ass.
Then why not try choosing your words a bit more carefully?
With a roguish smile, Leon pinched the air, index finger against middle. Uh-oh.
It's our successor, Sama. Are you done babysitting the old geezer?
Yeah.
At least Leon was impartial. No mercy, even for Jessica. Will felt a bit gratified. I see. Since you're the successor and Klaus's child, then Jessica's your little sister. He was so used to Jessica being an only child that though the scuffle between the two looked perfectly natural, something didn't feel quite right about it. Yeah, I understand your feeling.
Jessica, can't you talk a bit more like a little sister's supposed to? And while we're at it, why not try talking more like a girl your age? How many times do I have to tell you to stop calling me successor, Sama? Shut up. I'll live the way I want to. I'd suffocate if I had to act all refined like you, successor, Sama.
Ah, stop it, don't pinch me. This is little sister abuse, pervert, stop it, ah.
Jessica, why are you talking like that in front of a guest? Do you want mother to scold you again?
Looks like those two are close in their own special way.
Well, Leon is an excellent person to be the successor without any fools.
I just hope he won't do the whole butt-pinching thing during business negotiations.
Mother can fuck right off, mate. I guess I understand how Jessica-chan feels. Leon might be a bit too perfect sometimes.
She gets compared to Leon no matter what she does, and that made her a rebel.
If Jessica-chan had been born an only child, I'm sure she would have become a composed, quiet young lady.
Yeah, that's where you're wrong.
That's an interesting thought.
Don't worry, that wouldn't be enough to change her personality.
George Oni-chan, who is this person?
This is the first time we've met, right? But you seem to know a lot about our family. I'm George, and this here is Maria. Pleased to meet you. Call me Will. I'm investigating Beatrice. Please tell me what you know.
Beatrice, ooh, see? Beatrice exists.
Ooh. Though Maria had looked hostile towards this unfamiliar man, as soon as she heard the name of the witch she loved pass his lips, her eyes began to sparkle. Hey Maria-chan, you've got to greet our guests properly.
Hello, my name is Oshinomiya Maria. Ooh, I'm glad to meet someone who knows Beatrice. Handshake. Ooh.
Maria suddenly stuck out her small hand, and Will reached out for it reflexively. Oh. Soon as he did, he felt a bright light seeping out from the gap between their hands. The theater-going power that Bancastle had given him had affected Maria.
Beatrice is the witch of Rokkanjima. She plays with me every time I come here. She's my best friend and a fellow member of Maria Associé. Ooh.
The light grew brighter and brighter. This time he could feel himself being drawn to Maria's world. Which one of her worlds? Please not the one where her mother is mutilating stuffed animals.
I'm Oshinomiya Maria. My mama is Rosa. My papa, I don't have a papa. I think I remember Mama showing me a picture long ago and saying, "This is your papa." It was a picture of a man with a dark suntan on a beach wearing a swimsuit. Later on, when I learned what papa meant, I asked Mama to show me the picture again, but she said it didn't exist. But it had to have existed. When I drew a picture of it and showed it to Mama, she got really mad and said it didn't exist, or that if it did, she had already thrown it away.
Oh, Rosa getting really mad at you. What a surprise. Never happened before.
Ever since then, she kept saying that I didn't have a papa.
Just another great example of parenting.
Did you know? People say you need a papa and a mama to have a baby, but that's a lie.
Virgin birth, is it?
Behold, a virgin shall be with child, and shall bring forth a son, and they shall call his name Emmanuel. If I was a boy, that might have been my name.
Book of Matthew, chapter 1, verse 20.
No, verse 23. Verse 20 is, "But while he thought on these things, behold, the angel of the Lord appeared unto him in a dream, saying, Joseph, thou son of David, fear not to take unto thee Mary thy wife, for that which is conceived in her is of the Holy Ghost."
Did you learn the fucking Bible by heart? So your father is the Holy Ghost.
Everyone said that everyone has a papa. They said it was strange to not have a papa, that I was weird. A weird, pitiful child.
She clearly needs a hobby, yeah. Learning the Bible by heart is not one of them. She needs a different hobby. She could learn the Lord of the Rings by heart. Could do cool audiobooks for it.
But when I asked Mama, she said I didn't have a papa, that he didn't exist. She got mad and hit me even though all I did was ask.
Oh, what a surprise.
So I didn't really understand who gave birth to me.
Damn it, I mean, come on. Give her a break. She just asked about her She just asked about her father, and that was enough to hit her? Good lord.
I was an immature and misplaced creature, not a proper human. I realized I was a strange, pitiful girl, different from everyone else.
It doesn't matter who your parents are or what other people say. You are who you are.
It must have been hard to teach that to a young, immature kid. My kindergarten teacher might have said that to me when I cried after being bullied, but even those words of encouragement couldn't fill the blank space. No, the questions. Those words couldn't answer the questions in my mind.
And the book is what gave you the answers?
A priest came to see me.
Great, because Rosa never really took care of her. She got, scouted by Christian priests or what? It was probably part of some lesson to enrich the minds of children through an edifying tale. To most of the children, it was just an ordinary fairy tale they might have heard from one of their teachers. Actually, I think we were just bored because it was too hard to grasp. Then at the end, the priest did something important. That God knows everything.
Yep. So I asked him, I only have a mama. I don't have a papa. Mama gave birth to me without a papa. Was that a strange, sad thing? I asked.
The priest taught me there's nothing strange about a child having no papa. After all, Jesus Christ was born of a virgin, and the one who gave birth to him was the Virgin Maria? I was
was surprised. Maria, the name I was given, had been showing me the answer all along. I was so shocked I asked the priest to say it again. He said that the Virgin Maria gave birth to a baby by herself. So I asked him if that meant I could give birth to a baby all by myself too.
And how did he answer that?
He said the Virgin Maria was with child because of the Holy Ghost, the second part of the book of Matthew, chapter 1, verse 20. For that which is conceived in her is of the Holy Ghost. That surprised me again. What do you think that means?
You interpreted this to mean that Ushidomiya Maria had no human father, that your real father was the Holy Ghost. Regardless of the Bible's original meaning, this young, sad girl whose lack of a father had caused her to lose her sense of identity had finally created a way to understand herself.
Once I realized that, I knew why I was different from all the other kids. The ones who made fun of me were all children of Joseph. But I alone was different. I wasn't worse than anyone else. I was a child of God, a child of the Holy Ghost. When I got back, I told Mama I had no papa. Mama gave birth to me thanks to the power of God.
Yeah, she probably reacted really well to that too. It was probably painful for Rosa when Maria asked about her father. Why did Maria have no papa when everyone else had a papa and a mama? Every time she was asked this, Rosa flew into a rage and changed the subject. Then for some reason, all on her own, Maria had found an answer that satisfied her. She had no papa. She was the child of Mama and God. It isn't too difficult to imagine that Rosa, after hearing this young girl's explanation, might go along with it as though it were true.
Beatrice said that the minimum number of people needed to create a world is 2. I thought she meant that you need 2 parents to create a child. That's when I thought of it. Beatrice may be a witch, but she's a witch born of a human. Beatrice isn't a child of the Holy Ghost. But I'm different. I was born from Mama alone. I was born of the Holy Ghost. Beatrice can't create a universe without me, but God is always by your side. I can make a universe all by myself, along with the Holy Ghost. Beatrice called me the Witch of Origins, and she also said that eventually I might become a creator who could create anything alone. All by myself, I can create something out of nothing. Beatrice can take that and extend it into infinity. Angie was the witch's apostle who would spread the word far and wide.
And that was Maria Saucier.
There's a huge difference between 1 and infinity.
You don't say.
That's why Beatrice is so great. However, compared to the difference between existence and non-existence, 1 and infinity are nearly the same thing. I am the child destined to become the best witch. No, the greatest creator in the world. Maria Saucier was the nest to prepare me for that. I am Ushidomiya Maria, Maria who stands by God's side.
If we liken Maria's sense of identity to a universe, then this endless stream of words coming from her might be like the Big Bang. She spent so long tormented over how to interpret her lack of a father. Then by chance she saw a line in the Bible that looked like it secretly referred to her, and she finally formed an understanding for herself. That sad girl who had hated herself for being different from all of her classmates finally found a meaning for her existence. At that moment, Maria's universe, which had once been nothingness, was born as a clump of ultra-hot, ultra-high pressured energy. Then later on she went to Rokkanjima, met the endless witch who called herself Beatrice, and the clump of energy exploded in the Big Bang, giving birth to their magical compendium. That was the universe known as Maria Saucier. We're jumping about a bit too fast. Let's take things one at a time.
Sure. Where do you want to start?
After you decided that you were the child of the Holy Ghost, it's easy to imagine that you gradually became more and more interested in the occult. And then what? Once you reached that state, where did you meet Beatrice and how did the two of you interact?
It really did happen all of a sudden. All of a sudden, one day, I wanted to meet the witch called Beatrice who lived on Rokkanjima. I wanted to meet her as a fellow witch.
At that time you already knew you were a witch?
I did. Even then, when it came to the Bible and the occult, I already knew as much as an adult. So even though I couldn't use magic, I believed that I was a witch. Kee-hee, it's a bit funny, isn't it? That's why I was only a witch apprentice.
When did you meet Beatrice?
I don't really remember when, but I do remember what it was like. It was really, really sudden. Huh?
So you are Ushidomiya Maria, I presume?
It was so very sudden.
I was just drinking some milk tea all alone in the rose garden arbor. I'm not doing her voice for this. Mama said she had to talk about something important with Uncle Klaus, so she told me to go outside and play. Suddenly, she was sitting right there. I didn't know anyone who spoke that way. I quickly realized that she was someone I didn't know at all. Who are you? You're the one who wanted us to meet. Here I am, welcoming the witch who came to visit my island, and yet you ask my name?
Maybe Kinzo or somebody put her up to this? Like, I guess this is the daughter. This is the daughter of the original Beatrice. And, I could imagine that... I don't know. First I thought that maybe she just happened to somehow escape there. But since she says that she knows they want to meet, somebody must have told her that Maria likes witches, and I'm not sure.
Precisely. I am Beatrice.
Yeah, that is pretty sudden.
Yep, really, really sudden. There are witches and spirits right next to us all the time. They just choose not to show themselves. And when they do show themselves, it's always sudden, as though they've been there the whole time. That's what I learned that day.
And then you and Beatrice became friends?
Yeah, she stayed and chatted with me the whole time until Mama was done with her work. We talked about magic and witches, and about how I was a child of the Holy Ghost.
And what was your impression of Beatrice then?
I don't like saying it, but my knowledge at least was better than hers back then. At first I thought she wasn't a very good witch. Well, that was just my conceit. There are so many different kinds of magical compendiums. Plus, mine was based on self-study. I probably only viewed Beato that way because her magical compendium was different from mine. It wasn't long before I came to regret that and apologized.
Apologized? Did Beatrice do something to win your respect? I see. So she showed you magic.
We moved to the beach and talked lots, sitting at a table under an umbrella. Very interesting. Maria, I see you have been quite diligent in your studies. At your age, to be capable of teaching a 1,000-year-old witch such as myself is truly an accomplishment worthy of admiration. So, what sort of magic can you use?
Magic?
If you call yourself a witch, you must be able to show me some sort of magic, correct?
I was stunned for a second. Of course it should have been obvious. I was a child of the Holy Ghost, and since I had studied so much of the occult, I was also a witch, not a human. Until that day, I had been so sure of both of those things. So when I was asked what sort of magic I could use, it left me in a daze.
When one knows of magic and can speak of it, they finally reach the rank of apprentice. One is only a witch if they can put such knowledge into practice and use magic, correct?
So I'm not a witch yet?
You have studied well, and I can sense a very rare talent within you. One day you may become a witch so great that even I could not compare, or perhaps even a creator, as you have told me. However, you are still young and immature. You are, yes, you are an apprentice. A witch apprentice, you might call it.
So does that mean you can use magic, Beato?
Of course. I could not call myself a witch otherwise.
Incredible! Show me! I want to see your magic!
Until this day, Maria had never doubted the magic-themed idea that she was the child of the Holy Ghost. However, no one had ever proven to her that occult phenomena actually existed. Maria could create a universe all by herself, however she wanted to share it with a second person so that she could believe in it even more strongly.
Once I could have drawn a rainbow in the sky, transformed it into 7 colors of candy, and eaten them at my leisure. However, my power has weakened so much that I cannot even preserve my form to my satisfaction.
You told me about that. You can't use your full power because of the shrine.
It will take quite some time before my power returns. At this moment, I cannot turn rainbows to candy. However, perhaps I can show you a bit of that power with some simpler magic.
I want to see your magic.
Very well. However, I must ask for your assistance. As I have already told you, no matter how pure your soul might be, all humans are tainted and filled with the toxin that resists magic.
Yeah, I remember. You told me about the anti-magic toxin. It wasn't in any of the books I've read. You must really be incredible to know so much.
Beatrice lifted up an empty teacup, then turned it around in front of Maria to show that there weren't any tricks or strings. Right, the magic to make candy appear inside an overturned cup.
How did you know? You're incredible, Will. You even know about witch magic.
That's the most basic sort of witch magic after all.
It was just a normal cup without any tricks in it. I wanted to see true magic.
There was a thing Maria desired. To strengthen her belief that there was an occult side to her, she wanted to see the occult outside herself as well. That's why she agreed to help Beatrice with her magic. She didn't want her own toxin to ruin her chance of learning the miracles of magic.
Good. Then try looking inside the cup. Ah, there's candy. There's candy. As a gift to mark my meeting with the new witch, and as a sign of our friendship, I offer this to you. This was a true miracle of magic. For the first time I felt shame and embarrassment at my conceit. I could feel that sense of omnipotence disappear. The idea that I was the child of the Holy Ghost and the most important and special person in the world. Instead of a child of the Holy Ghost who can't actually do anything, I'd rather be a witch who can use magic. Yoshinomi Maria wants to become a witch. Starting off as a witch apprentice, I was already fascinated by Beato. I want to become a real witch too. I want to be your disciple. How modest. You already have an abundance of talent and diligence. Also, though it may have been different when I was at my full power, I cannot take on a disciple in my current state. So I can't become a witch's disciple? Correct. You cannot become my disciple. However, you can become my friend. Really? Indeed. From this point forth, we shall be friends. Let us continue to discuss the deep and profound world of witches. Oh, thank you, Beato. Can I eat this candy? No, let it be a souvenir. Instead of eating it, keep it in that adorable bag of yours. Okay, I'll eat it at home. Maria, that candy was brought into being by magic. Therefore, it is fragile. If you deny my existence with that toxin of yours, it will melt and fade away. No, I don't want Beatrice's precious magic to disappear. Then be sure that you do not forget your meeting with me. As long as you keep a little promise with me, I shall be here to greet you when you return to this island. I'll keep it. What's the promise? Well, to start, when you get home, wash your hands, then rinse out your mouth. You must not complain about this, for it is an important part of a witch apprentice's training. I'll do it. Every day when I come home, I'll wash my hands. I'll rinse out my mouth. If I do that, I won't see you again. I promise it. If you keep your end of the promise, your body will be cleansed and I will regain even more of my magical power. If that happens, I will show you even more incredible magic the next time you come. Oh, I'll keep my promise no matter what. I'll do it. I'll become your friend and the witch apprentice. Your resolve is heartening, Yoshinomi Maria. I hope you will grow to become a full witch and my close friend soon. I think that was the first time I met Beatrice.
And was that candy still there when you get home?
Yep, but I doubted it a little, so it was all melty. I regretted almost doubting her. If I doubted her more, the candy would have disappeared completely. I almost lost the proof of the magical miracle that had happened before my eyes.
A piece of candy melted.
I think it was more of a caramel than a normal candy. It was all lumpy, just starting to melt.
About what time of the year did this happen?
Summer? I'm not too sure, but I remember that the milk tea had ice in it. Why does that matter?
Never mind. Did you tell Rosa about your meeting with Beatrice?
Yep. I told everyone about it at dinner that day. Uncle Klaus laughed at me. Then Mama, who was sitting next to me, got mad and told me to stop talking about it.
Next to you? By your family's ranking system, your seat shouldn't be next to Rosa's.
It wasn't a family conference. It was when just Mama and I came to visit. So there was only Uncle Klaus's family, Mama, and me. There were fewer people, so we didn't sit in the same spots as a family conference.
And Rosa was sitting in the seat next to you.
Yeah. Why does that matter?
It doesn't. Have you ever met with Beatrice outside Orokanjima?
No. After all, Beatrice's body is fragile, so she can't go wherever she wants. I said I wouldn't mind letting her possess me, but she said she couldn't because she couldn't leave the island.
And after that, you met her every time you came to Orokanjima?
Yeah. We became really good friends. The more I talked to Beatrice, the more I realized what an amazing witch she was. She showed me wonderful magic every time I saw her. Then she told me about a magical compendium that was different from mine, and we both talked up together about the mysteries of magic. I wanted to reach her level as soon as I could. I wanted to become the kind of witch Beata was.
Did you ever introduce Beatrice to your mother?
Nope. She said Mama's toxin was too strong, so they couldn't meet each other yet. Almost all adults are no good when it comes to the toxin, because they're all tainted. Hee hee hee.
Was anyone other than you able to see Beatrice?
They couldn't at first. She said her magical power was weak, so her body would crumble if even a little bit of the toxin reached her. But she gathered magical power bit by bit, and she could eventually appear in front of other people who had small amounts of toxin.
And who was that?
There weren't many of them. Just a few of the servants.
Specifically?
All of the servants here today. But not Koda-san, I think.
So there were 4 of them, Genji, Shannon, Kanon, and Kumazawa.
And Dr. Nanjo too.
Apparently they would sometimes come to visit Maria and Beatrice's witch tea parties. Of course they had only come by for minor things, like bringing some more tea. However, they were certainly aware of Beatrice and even talked with her. How did the servants react to Beatrice? She was a guest who shouldn't have existed. Weren't they surprised?
Of course not. After all, Beatrice is the other master of the mansion. She said that the servants treated Beatrice as an honored guest, and sometimes they were permitted to witness new miracles of magic along with Maria. So on the Rokkanjima of 1986, the ones who could actually meet with Beatrice were you, Nanjo, and the 4 servants, excluding Goda, for a total of 6. Yeah, Beatrice said she'd need to store up much more magical power before she could appear in front of anyone else.
So she intended to show herself in front of more people sometime in the future?
Yep. She said the day she made all of the humans acknowledge her would be the day of her resurrection.
Maria, the servants, and Nanjo had acknowledged her. She had probably appeared before new humans one by one, starting with those whose anti-magic toxin was weakest. Beatrice's game was to increase the number of humans who could recognize her, until she could make everyone on the island acknowledge her. Of that there can be no doubt. In that case, the last person Beatrice needed to appear in front of would be Battler, the one said to have the strongest anti-magical power. Does this mean Beatrice thought Battler would be the hardest to convince? It seems true that Battler was one of Beatrice's goals. However, if we go with that chessboard thinking Battler loves so much, Beatrice is trying to make people acknowledge her existence. Therefore, you might say that she's a character who can't exist unless people acknowledge her. Battler reached this idea himself as soon as the first game. Yes, there's something different about the Beatrice of 1986. She's different from the Italian Beatrice or the Kuadorian Beatrice, both of whom certainly did exist. The Beatrice of 1986, the one we're so familiar with in a mysterious way, yet who has no existence. What does it mean to kill this Beatrice who has no existence? The minimum number of people required to create a universe is 2. However, Maria said that even a single person could give birth to a universe, and yet Maria desired a second person to nurture the world she had given birth to alone. Because if it was born and not nurtured, it would die and disappear. Let's replace the word universe with Beatrice. The minimum number of people required to create Beatrice is 2. However, even a single person could give birth to her. And yet, that single person desired a second person to acknowledge the Beatrice created by the first person. That meeting with the second person is the scene Maria has just described. The single person who created Beatrice looked for a second person to acknowledge Beatrice, and selected Maria. We don't need Furo no Erika's heartless reasoning to know that the teacup magic was a sleight of hand. Maria, believing in the story about the anti-magic toxin, would close her eyes whenever magic happened. Any sleight of hand would be possible while she had her eyes closed. The caramel Maria had been given as proof of her meeting with the witch had melted a little because Maria had doubted. In a season where one was likely to put ice in their tea, it was only natural for a caramel left in a bag to melt. Ushidomiya Maria, the girl who's too trusting and will accept a story easily. Beatrice appeared first in front of this girl who had, in the language of witches, very little of the anti-magic toxin. The creation of Beatrice can be thought of as an egg being laid. When a single person creates her, it's little more than a daydream. She's still inside the egg. If and only if a second person acknowledges her, the shell will crack and she'll appear. She'll only appear if a second person comes to warm the egg. When Maria acknowledged Beatrice, she finally hatched, and the chick was born. In that case, Maria's Saucier, which nurtured Beatrice and her magical compendium, was like a nest. This is Beatrice, a woman with a dignified presence who calls herself the Witch of Rokkanjima and who claims to have lived 1,000 years. That sounds less like the chick Beato who appeared in the previous game, and more like Beato the Elder. So did the meeting Maria has just recounted mark the birth of Beato the Elder? The egg itself had already been created by the first person. Between them and the meeting with Maria, it matured immensely inside its shell into a character with a dignified presence of 1,000 years. Then when Maria acknowledged it, it hatched, and the Witch of Rokkanjima finally gained a form. Perhaps that moment marks the birth of the Beatrice of 1986. The younger chick Beato was born out of love for Balor. Since that birth hasn't yet occurred at this point in time, the birth of Beato the Elder and the existence of Beatrice at this moment must have nothing to do with Balor. Are you enjoying this reasoning, Bernkastel? If you are, let's at least have some applause from the spectators. Great, thanks a bunch.
I wished for Beatrice to grant me a lot of things with magic. That's why I'm helping with her resurrection.
What is it you wished for?
Lots and lots. Not telling.
So you wanted to protect your mama from the Black Witch.
How did you know that? You're incredible.
And you're already sure that you'll never be able to get that world back without a witch's help?
Yep. I love Mama. She's so nice. I want to be with her forever. For all eternity.
Now I'd like to hear about Maria Saucier. What's wrong?
Don't wanna.
Huh?
I'm thirsty, so I'm gonna go get something to drink. See you later.
Maria became suddenly formal, bowed her head, and left without waiting for a reply. It was a very un-Maria-like thing to do. I see. So the game master has moved the piece. Apparently she's telling me to ask about something different. At some point Leon had started chatting with the other family members. Jessica seemed to be getting irritated at having her butt pinched so much, and George was trying to calm her down. Jessica and George, guess I'll hear their stories next. Compared to Maria, the anti-magic toxin is very strong in these two. At least at the beginning of the other games, they didn't acknowledge Beatrice. Maria showed me the point of view of one who believes. Now to hear from those who don't.